think that your baby can benefit from donor breast milk, this video is for you. Today, we're talking all about donor milk. So I have an online course for people who are preparing to adopt a newborn. And a question that I commonly get is, what if I want to give my baby donor breast milk? It is situations like this where I like to seek the advice of the experts, and that's what I've done today. If you're new here, I'm Valerie Trumbower. I am a postpartum doula, a certified lactation counselor, and I help people prepare for and navigate life with a newborn. And be sure and hit subscribe. It tells YouTube that what I'm talking about actually makes sense. So let's get into it here. And to better understand donor milk, I am joined by Denise O'Connor from the Mid-Atlantic Mother's Milk Bank. Thanks for being here, Denise.
I'm so happy to be here. We love talking about donor milk. So this is great.
So can you start out by helping people understand who is a candidate for donor milk?
Sure. There are many situations where donor milk is the absolute best option for a baby, both inpatient and outpatient. In the neonatal intensive care unit, we know that babies who don't have all of the milk that they're from their own mother, we know that they do much better if they're supplemented only with donor breast milk. So in the neonatal intensive care units in most parts of the country, those hospitals purchase donor milk as a supply, just like they would blood, and they have their own evidence-based criteria that they have developed, typically based on the weight and gestational age of that child or on different medical diagnoses. So if your baby's in the NICU setting, you may be offered donor milk if your baby has a condition in which they will do much better using donor milk if they don't have access to maternal milk.
Okay, so sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So it's not just that. So we kind of started out by saying there's part of my audience that is preparing to adopt, and for them, the baby might be in the NICU, might not. Now, if the baby isn't in the NICU, can you help us understand what that looks like?
Sure. So there's other scenarios where we have donor milk is used, for example, in the mother-baby unit in the hospital. So sometimes when we have parents that are just working on their supply and they need a little bit of milk for early days postpartum, the hospitals will offer donor milk in those situations. And then on the outpatient side, we see babies that have medical needs. We also see parents that have situations such as adoption who are using donor milk. So, it's a wide range of uses that we see. And the good thing is that I know in our own region, we're here in Pennsylvania and we serve the states that surround us. We have an ample, reliable supply of milk, and same with most of the milk banks across North America. So really there is availability for all these different uses.
So across North America, I know you had said before we started recording here, there are, I think, did you say 31 milk banks? Is that correct?
Yes, and so to find the milk bank that's closest to you, you would go to the Human Milk Banking Association of North America's site, which is habana.org.
Okay, and we will link that for sure down below. So let's say that the baby is in the NICU situation. Do the parents ask for the donor milk, or how does it usually happen?
Typically what we hear from parents is that it is just part of the treatment plan with the healthcare team, and it's something that will be offered if the baby meets the evidence-based criteria for that hospital.
Okay, but then on an outpatient, it's kind of different on the outpatient side, which if a family who's adopting the baby wasn't in the NICU, now they're talking about it on the outpatient side. Can you help us to understand, and I realize that you're going to be speaking to your milk bank, but can you give us an idea of what the cost associated with donor milk is?
Sure. So cost really is a big issue when it comes to donor milk. We're a little nonprofit, but we have to do a lot of screening of our donors and testing and screening of the milk because of the fragility of the population that we serve. And so that incurs a lot of costs. So donor milk at our milk bank is $4.10 an ounce. I think that the average across the United States is $4.50 to $5 an ounce. And that is very expensive. The good news is that we are seeing better and better insurance coverage all of the time. Our children that have medical needs, we're seeing them get covered by insurance most of the time. We also have programs in place when there are gaps. For example, babies that have a medical need, we have a 10% to 90% discount program. It's an income-based sliding scale program. But there is a flurry of legislative activity right now in the United States surrounding coverage of donor milk. So I think this is just going to get better and better and better. So I always encourage parents, if you want to use donor milk, well, the first thing you would do is go into our website if you're in our area. And we do have a recipient family section that will give you lots of information on how to get started. We always encourage parents to put it in front of the insurance company because you may be pleasantly surprised. And then I do recognize that, you know, if that does not happen and you have a baby and it's an adoptive situation, the baby is completely healthy, full-term baby, and you cannot get coverage. We have seen adopters do lots of different things, such as having a month worth of donor milk that they use to have their child have a really good start, to have that microbiome support, or maybe even spreading that over 2 months and supplementing with formula. So giving the baby a good start. So there's lots of ways to make it work.
And I think you had said that HSA and FSA, like that card is also it covers
yes.
that, correct?
You need to check with your employer, but oftentimes that is perfectly acceptable to purchase donor milk using those.
Okay, and I think a question that a lot of people have, and for us who aren't in the milk bank world, it helps to understand, what does the screening process look like? Like, what screening does that milk undergo?
Sure. As I had mentioned, we have very fragile infants that we are serving. Our NICU babies, we have outpatients with lots of medical needs, and then newborns in general, right? So we want to make sure that the milk is safe for them. We're part of the Human Milk Banking Association of North America. That's our accrediting body. And really, their guidelines are the gold standard across the world. And we get inspected by them, and we have to strictly follow all guidelines from screening and through processing and distribution. There are several states here in the United States that do have licensure of milk banks too. Pennsylvania is one of those. And so we carry licenses in Pennsylvania, New York, and Maryland because it is the surrounding states that have those licenses. So that's another level of scrutiny. So screening, all of our donors are thoroughly screened, looking at their medical history, risk factors. They go through blood screening, and we do have a quick form, a health history that we send to their doctor and their baby's doctor. And then the milk itself goes through a pasteurization process. It's a low temp process of 62.5 degrees Celsius for half an hour. And that process does an excellent job of inactivating all sorts of viruses and pathogens and bacteria. And in addition to that, that low temperature process maintains a lot of the important bioactive components of human milk. And again, we do different types of testing on the milk itself. We do bacteriological testing after pasteurization to make sure that the pasteurization did a good job. And then our milk bank does drug testing as well.
Okay, perfect. So this milk undergoes a lot of tests. This is not like somebody dropped it off at your milk bank and now you're offering it to someone else. So I think, not that we thought that's what you did, but I think there's a lot of mystery behind donor milk. And I think that we have been able to clarify some of that. So I hope that this video has answered your questions about feeding your baby donor milk, what that process looks like. And I'm going to link all of the links that Denise talked about below this video. If you like this video, please be sure and hit subscribe. I post a new video every single Tuesday. Be sure and follow me on Instagram at New Parents Academy. And stick around because you can check out one of these videos for more must-know baby info.